The thing that I suppose keeps it fresh all the time is the fact that every place is different, and so when every place is different in terms of our cities or public spaces, and every community is different. So if you go into a project with the assumption or with the condition that you're wanting to work with the existing elements and the potential of that place, but using what is locally distinctive and specific about that place, you can't help but I think come up with something that is unique, because each group, each community, each public space has its own set of conditions. One of the biggest challenges that I've encountered in my work is trying to design interventions for places that don't exist yet, for communities that aren't yet formed. And I'm doing that with two projects at the moment. One is Green Square Library and Plaza, and the second one is another project that's so new I got it this afternoon. But they're places that don't exist. They exist on a drawing board, and they're communities that will soon be highly populated, dense communities. We can guess at who will live there and how they'll use it, but we don't know yet. So how do you create meaningful public art experiences or infrastructure or creative interventions when you don't know the community yet? And that's the hardest part. And for me, the answer is about providing the tools and the provocations so that community can create their own experience when they eventually arrive in that place. I absolutely am, and at the moment I'm experiencing exactly that overwhelm with Vivid Ideas. I'm curating the program for 2016, and I have so many exciting options, and you want to chase every rabbit down every hole, and despite the fact that I started my career as an editor, I'm very bad at editing things out and saying no, and that's the hardest part. But what I try to do to make the cut and to narrow the options down is think about it from the audience experience. I think, what's the most value that a person can get out of this particular event or opportunity? And I think the most precious thing that we have is our time, and I need to value people's time. And while I might get excited about I want to do a whole day event about augmented reality, I think, well, what's the kind of essence of the event that I could present to pique people's interest, to begin their engagement with this topic, and then give them a starting point to connect with those networks that already exist, so that they can pursue their own curiosity. So that's probably, that consideration of it from the audience perspective is the thing that limits my otherwise unbridled enthusiasm for topics, and that's what makes me assess exactly how long an event should be. Also, when there are two events that are kind of circling similar territory, I try and combine them and get the two event owners or organisations to work together, because I think ideas are strengthened when you have different opinions coming together, and it's always better to have different networks converging at one event rather than two events that are quite similar happening at the same time. So it's about consolidating, and it's about understanding it from the audience perspective. It's a tricky question. Because I often think the most audacious things are the ones that I've snuck in under the radar, and I don't want anyone to know that I thought that they were a big risk. But I guess for me, that would be instilling the entirety of the Vivid Ideas program over the past 7 years with a real focus on social impact. And to me, that's been a subtle but essential part of that program, and something that wasn't kind of written into the brief. It's something that I brought to it and now has become part of its DNA. And by that I mean, we could easily have a creative industries festival that was entirely about, the economic impact of the sector, because it's significant. It could be about innovation and the impact in the business world, because that is a growing realm of its influence. But for me, there is no point without purpose. You know, there's got to be something greater than just doing cool work. There's got to be a social and political outcome, and that's a personal perspective that I've been fortunate to be able to imbue in all of those events. And that's because I think the future of work and the future of value creation is that triple bottom line. It's not just creating stuff that you enjoy or that makes money, but stuff that has a positive benefit to the world. So I suppose that's my own personal bias and prejudice that I've kind of audaciously snuck into the very essence of what Vivid Ideas is. I think honesty and curiosity are two of the most important characteristics in anything, but certainly in collaboration. And by that I mean being really upfront when you actually don't know anything, or when you know a little bit. And I'm now, you know, for a long time, I would do that thing where someone says, oh, you know that book, oh, you know that play, and I would go, and eventually I was like, I just can't keep this up anymore. Like, I'm just going to be completely honest and say, no, I don't know that, or I haven't heard of it, tell me about it. And it's been incredibly rewarding. I learned so much in every interaction because I'm totally upfront. I take notes every time I meet someone, and I'm able to walk away with more knowledge. And I think people respect that honesty and vulnerability when you genuinely defer to their experience, and it means that you value their expertise and what they're bringing to the collaboration, and you're not trying to be all sides of it, because otherwise, I mean, why would you be collaborating?